Right. There's reporting today, and I don't know that it's true. It's one source only that, and Caitlyn, maybe you can elucidate this a little more, and that is that Amber Heard may be reshot in the Aquaman sequel. Her character is it Mira or Mera? I don't know how to pronounce it, but her character may end up being reshot, and she may be excised from the movie. And I say maybe because, again, her team said that's insane. It's not true. But someone has a source saying that the filmmakers told him so. What do you make of that, Caitlyn?
I think we would tend to side with the people who are putting their name on it when it comes to stories like this. When you have an anonymous source who says, I heard so-and-so say that this is going to happen, and then you have her team saying, absolutely not, this isn't the case. I tend to lean with the people who are putting their name out there on the story. That being said, we've talked about this, even, Ashleigh, you and I have talked about this before, that there was this long-standing petition to get her removed from the movie. Her role had already been shot. It had already been cut down. Do I think they're going to go back and reshoot it? Probably not, because it would cost a lot of money to do that. And in the Aquaman movies, it's a lot of special effects. That
with Kevin Spacey, all the money in the world, I think the movie was called. They excised him out, they reshot it, they did it in a short...
won an award for that one.
Yeah. So
but I think in this case, they would be more likely to cut her out and not put it in at all, keep the character out rather than recast and reshoot, because they've already pared it down so much. So with enough public outcry, that could happen. So her team might be right at this point, but I doubt they're going to recast it. Crazier things have happened, as you said, but it seems more likely that if they're going to pare her down and cut her out of the sequel, they're just going to completely remove those scenes.
What were you thinking, Mike Paul?
Two important points. Caitlyn, you're a pro at what you do, but we both know that there are anonymous sources, and sometimes they tell us things early, and then they get fact-checked, and they're correct, especially if you're an insider within the studio, number one. Number two, remember my point about being insurable. If there's concern about her being insurable, not just for a film that's been shot, but for anything future, and they're thinking about their brand, those who put the money into the film, there's a very good chance that she might not be in this film. Let's just see what happens.
I definitely agree that she might not be in the film. I just don't know if they're going to go the route of fully recasting and reshooting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The business judgment rule is going to demand they make profits. They're going to follow what makes them the most profits, whether it is going to be cutting her out entirely or just reducing the role. And they may even try to capitalize on the catalyst that is that change. Remember, this is Hollywood. All PR is good PR at some point.
That's a good. Originally, Josh, they actually came out and said it was bad chemistry, right? They had a whole other reason for why they were going to work on her and change things around. They said that she didn't have good chemistry with Jason Momoa. But Mike Paul, that sounds like an easy way of just trying to, get out of the way of the ugly,
All PR is not good PR. There wouldn't be a profession called crisis public relations that, quite frankly, has hourly rates that are higher than the highest defense attorneys in the world, if that were true. There's value in what we do because there's many that are in crisis, and this is seriously a crisis. Remember about insurability. We'll be hearing a lot more about that soon.
I'm fascinated by that. And Josh, I want you to just sort of bring the the exposure issue here, because let's not forget how this all started. It was the ACLU that came to Amber Heard and said, let's do this. And then not only wrote the whole thing, but lawyered the whole thing for her. And ultimately, we're all grown-ups. If we sign our name to something, then we have to endorse it. But ultimately, does the ACLU bear any legal responsibility, any moral responsibility, any financial responsibility, Josh?
They definitely took a hit, and there's theoretically a case. It's just almost certainly not going to be brought. Johnny Depp, when we talk about the power he has as someone who has been defamed, allegedly, he holds the power of whether he wants to take action or not. There are, 4 elements to a defamation case, and if he can bring those, he can bring a suit. It just may not be worth the cost-benefit calculus for someone that leads as complicated a life as he does. Like Mike was talking about, the financial instruments behind being a megastar are inconceivably complex. His involvement with major projects is going to be insured 19 different ways. The length and breadth of the contracts involved are so difficult to navigate. He needs to basically be as bulletproof as possible. He's getting to achieve that, and he has the power whether to continue this story or back off it now that he's ostensibly proven his point in court.
So let me ask you, Mike, I said what I said earlier, half in jest and half really not in jest, because I know from doing a lot of legal work on air, live, that I do have to inoculate myself a lot of times from the claims that my guests make, because I am the publisher of this program right now, and NewsNation is the publisher of this program right now. And Amber Heard may have said that to Savannah Guthrie, but I have rerun that, and that's why I gave the disclaimer. I have no proof at all that Johnny Depp hit her. I can't attest to any of that. Those are her claims only. But all of the different media outlets out there, is there a concern, Mike Paul, do you think, for everybody who reported on the English trial, in which they said, 12 out of 13, I think, or so of these cases, of these claims of hers are likely true, and everybody published all of that stuff and spoke volumes and reams of words all about, Johnny Depp's terrible behavior and Amber's too. Do you think anyone else is at risk, either from a reputation standpoint or from a legal standpoint?
Well, I think you're bringing up very important points here. And there's another important point besides the insurability that I want to make tonight. Usually, we're so used to seeing many women's groups around the world backing a woman who has a case like this. It wasn't just the ACLU that was involved. They were talking to everybody. You don't see the Gloria Allreds of the world. You don't see the women associations of various sectors of society. You didn't see any major women's group stand along Amber Heard, sit in the courtroom and support her for a big reason. They were concerned about their own reputation first before seeking to help her, because there was an impression with high numbers that potentially she was lying, or potentially she was also a hitter herself, and it was proven in court that she was.
And she admitted it. She's on tape saying it, that she hit him, and then she said to Savannah Guthrie, it was the environment I was in, and I was hitting back. And
she
none
did
of
that a
sounds
lot,
good.
Ashleigh. She did that a lot.
Yes.
She pushed back, and every time in the interview with Savannah, anytime that she admitted that she did anything wrong, it was always couched with, and I was pushed to that point from Johnny. She really is holding on to her claims as hard as she possibly can.
It's like those terrible words that I hear so often in domestic violence, oftentimes from men, and they say that my spouse or my partner is a crazy maker, and that's what drove me to do it. Caitlyn Becker, Mike Paul, Josh Schiffer, I have to leave it there, but thank you all. I appreciate your wisdom. Thanks so much for being here.
Ashleigh.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.